Holla ballers, what's going on? It's pre-chairing. My God, has it been busy the last few weeks. Ooh, baby, and the last few days especially if you don't know, I will be traveling to London, maybe later tonight actually, or early morning, because I will be helping host the world first race. Oh yes, I'm sure many of you have tuned in or checked out the Method stream down at the Red Bull Gaming Sphere. I am going to be down there soon. I'm just finishing up my recordings here, so you guys have got some content while I'm away. And yeah, super excited. I had to turn it down at first when they offered me this because I'm raiding, which is when many of you saw the announcement that I would be there. Were like, wait, has he had to stop raiding? No, it was actually the concession they made. Thankfully, I really appreciate Mr. Hotted actually, because that's who I was dealing with. I was like, I can't be there. I really want to be there because what I want when I see commentary of PvE is I want to be able to point out the things that make me super happy about it, what the individual players are doing, trying to highlight these really amazing plays that are very difficult to see on a WoW stream. It's not a great spectator game to see all the intricacies that are going on there, and I just cannot wait to be in a position where maybe I can show some of that off and show some of these really excellent things that get me excited about raiding, because I love raiding in this game. And I suppose speaking to that is like, Preacher, what do you really think of Battle for Dazar'alorn now it's out? Well, I can tell you, this has been pretty hectic. As you know, I moved up in guilds from where I was. I was in a very good, very competent, really good, casual raiding for me kind of guild. So it was like World 400. I'm not memeing there when I say casual. It's casual for me from compared to what I was used to in the past. It was really nice. Didn't have to push the boat out. But when that guild dissolved, I was left in this position. I'm now raiding with the Fat Boss guys, and they do raid at a much higher level, like World 60th or something. I can't remember. Around there. And that has meant a much bigger commitment to a lot of the extra things that BFA demands of raiders, and some of that you're seeing in the background now. So I did take a day off streaming on the actual launch day of Battle for Dazar'alorn, and people are like, why? What are you doing? And I was like, look, I've got so much boring stuff to do today in order to be in a prepared state for the mythic push that we're going to be doing. So what that involved basically is we got a message a week before. It's like, look, we need everybody's alt, not your main, to re-roll your professions to engineering, like right now. And you need to do that because we're going to have the whole alt team craft the engineering goggles because they're really good. And not only that, that enables trading. So everything that's been going on, you've seen the top guys in the world do it. I've no doubt you've heard about how many runs they were doing, like 26 kills of certain bosses. I believe Method had 26 kills of Heroic Rastakhan just to be able to coin stuff, and that is because the whole plan in Heroic Week, which I've been taking part in this week, has been to find loopholes and ways around personal loot, because it's so negative to the way that the game works in terms of acquiring gear to appropriate people. Many people like personal loot. I understand that. That's fine. But for me, it's a typical MMO RPG element, is that we're able to kill bosses and then we disperse the loot amongst the people who are involved there. And Blizzard doesn't like that. And that has meant, and I think Princess Leia quoted this the best, the tighter and tighter Blizzard squeeze on trying to control what players do, the more and more loopholes they create. They just keep squeezing and trying desperately to micromanage what players are doing. And in doing so, they're just creating more and more loopholes for players to get around it. So what did that involve? Okay, so I re-rolled my mage to tailoring and engineering. I crafted the goggles, and then the way we handled it was creating 2 raids. Now, some of you will have seen this in the Fat Boss guides. I'm in there on both my mage and my druid. And what you'll see is we had 2 split runs that we did. One was cloth plate, I believe. So we had every clothy and alt, no leather allowed in there at all, in those runs. And that meant that we killed 2 bosses, which gave us enough Breath of Wild Soundly to go out and craft another item. Then we changed the raid while logging another alt to keep the ID, so we could then bypass the first 2 bosses. And the reason we did that is they dropped the best items for certain people. So we had spreadsheets made before the raid came out of where the best items drop for which classes. Okay, this is the strategy we're going to use. Then come in on the other guys, clear the instance, then swap back and reset the ID so we could do the first 2 bosses, because that meant people had loot from the remainder of the dungeon, which had some loot that people didn't really want, allowing the maximum possible trading of the first items from the first couple of bosses to the ideal people we wanted to have them. You got to remember, there's a big difference here in mindset between definitely a heavy progress mythic guild and maybe guys who play as an individual who want stuff for themselves. In this type of environment, it's more about gearing everybody in an ideal way, because that enables much smoother, much better progression, less frustration, although this has been a very frustrating process, there's been no doubt. And then we went on to clear Jaina Heroic twice, clear normal Battle for Dazalora twice, get some Mythic Plus in before they did the gear upgrade, which came in this reset. And then at the very last minute, it was like, redo all your professions for the items that you are missing. So I then went ahead and dropped Herbalism on my main character, which I'll be playing, which is my Druid, I think, although the Mage is looking like it might make a return. And then picked up Jewel Crafting, which then was like another 400,000 gold just to craft the rings to fill a slot that I had a particular problem with. The best ring I had coming out of Uldir, and all the farming I did there for months and months, was actually a 375, because it was a particularly good 375. So I then went ahead and crafted a 400 ring to put into that place with a gem. And that got my... Currently, I haven't rated Mythic yet, but as I'm recording this video, so I got my Druid to 397 before he even steps in front. Really good new Azerite armor. And I had an interesting moment where the new Azerite armor's rings are actually so good that even though I had a 400 leather helmet, Azerite helmet, it was actually not as good as the 370 World Quest helmet that I managed to get, which had particularly good Azerite rings. So for those of you out there looking to gain upgrades, please be aware that Azerite armor with this extra ring, some of them are extremely powerful. And you might be worth dropping your 385 for definite that you got from Uldir. It's just a waste of time in the current game. And also look at the World Quest rewards. Even if you have a 400, it might not be as good as that 370 fucking Azerite reward you got from an emissary quest, even if, you know, that's just the nature of the beast right now. That's what's going on there. So moving into content when I get back, I am scheduled to be in London until Tuesday. As they booked me for 5 days to be down there. It was originally supposed to be 2. They then extended it to 5. But looking at the race right now, and I'm sure many of you guys are, like, I don't think it's going to last that long. And that is indeed correct. That might be the case, unless Stormwall Blockade lives up to its name, and it is a Stormwall Blockade. I do have a prediction that Jaina is going to be more of a mechanics fight. I don't think Jaina will last that long. I have this suspicion that Jaina won't be that bad, unless Blizzard is watching the progress of the guilds and thinking this is going to be over too soon. This was a problem we had in Uldir, where community perception is always vastly skewed compared to the reality. You might remember how many people thought Uldir was too easy because a lot of the bosses were falling down, despite the ludicrous efforts that these guilds, including mine, went to prepare for this race and to be, as much as they can, weeks ahead of the normal itemization curve. That doesn't matter to community perception, because all it takes is one guy who doesn't understand what's happening to tell 2 friends that, wow, shit, because the Mythic Raid was cleared in a few days, blah, 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 blah. So you never know whether Blizzard is going to go ahead and try and alter some of the dungeon or some of the raid, certainly Jaina, because Limit have had access to the Stormwall Blockade. Although there is a rumor flying around, and I will share with you some rumors. I will confirm no sources, but there are some rumors that Stormwall Blockade was so overtuned in Mythic for Limit that they even 8-healed it and could not get off the boats in the first phase. It was doing so much damage, and the GMs were attempting to fix it. So a little bit of insider info for you there, something that might be true, might be not. Again, rumors are rumors. It might be a complete piece of shit information. So take that with a pinch of salt. It's just something I've heard. It did come from somewhere reliable, but you never know. You never know how much that's been exaggerated or whatever, but the GMs apparently were trying to fix the Stormwall Blockade for when Limit started raiding, and they've just started raiding, I believe. So that's the situation. So there you go. I will be down there in London. When I'm on stream, please feel free to tweet me or to get in contact with me or try and highlight a name in chats, you know, if you give it the old @preach. And I will do my best to spot that and try and answer your questions. If there's something you're not sure about, if you saw some really awesome play that might be worth a shout out, something like that. If there's something you're really not sure about, obviously if it's, you know, how are resto shamans? You know, if it's something really generic, that's probably going to slip under the radar. But if you have a decent, interesting question, please throw it my way, and I will do my absolute best while I'm down there to answer that. Here's hoping that Jaina is not dead before I get there. I am leaving in a few hours to get down there. Hopefully the boss will still be up, otherwise rip me. But thank you so much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. I will be on twitch.tv/method tomorrow, and you can hit me up there. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.